Well, hello. Hello, lover. Hello, lovers. 103 lovers coming together to get drunk because it's almost Friday, but you can't wait. Is it that kind of a happy hour? It's okay. We give you permission. It is the happy hour show. I am your hostess with the mostest, Dr. W. Dr. Whimsy in the house, tried and true. This is not the news 3 weeks early, just to clarify. So, what have I been up to? Boy, the garden, the greens. I've got so much greens growing. And when I cut them, I just mix them all together. So I cut the greens. It had dill in it. It had other herbs. I separated out the lemon balm and the catnip. Of course, Mila was highly attentive to my process. I was trimming them, get them nice and big, both of which are mints, and they're taking over, as you would assume. So I have to cut them back. So that is what I was doing today. And then I've gone back to living like a European, which I now realize is a lot cheaper than living like an American. I remember when I was living in Europe, you look at these frugal living channels and they say, oh, you should shop once a month and just eat whatever's, and they do this massive hauls and then the food sits there and you don't want to eat it. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to do this. I want to go back to the simple life I had when I was living in Europe. I lived in Europe for a few years and we would shop. We lived very frugally, very simply, very happy. And we ate really good quality food and we shopped about every 3 days. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back to that. I've got so much dry goods in the house because I've saved 6 months worth of dry goods in the event of whatever. So I went to the store and I purchased for the month, I think half a gallon of milk, organic, some grapes, a chicken, some ice cream. I think that was it. Anyway, my total cost, the chicken I bought actually before the June, but anyway, everything, I looked at all my spending for June. Actually, I got grapes, ice cream, and some onions, and one or two other things. You know what my spending is for June for my groceries? $12. So yesterday I made a homemade lentil soup. So I'm just going back to the simple ways. When you took your time, slow, and I made a simple Mediterranean lentil soup with the greens from my garden, carrots, and the onion I purchased, and put a little bit of vinegar. Really took my time preparing it. And the point is that if we just prepare, we're consuming too much. Also, I'm eating what I love. Like I did an assessment of my finances last month. Because last month I started experimenting with living like a European. So I bought the best Camembert cheese, $12 Camembert. I bought the best crackers, the best olives, the best this, the best that, the things that I would have bought if I was living in Paris. So I spent about $50 plus a little soup or a little this or a little bit of that. You know what my total budget expenditure was for one person for the entire month living like that and shopping every couple days? $250. But this month it's going to be even less because I still have the stuff, So I think that people are doing things wrong. We should live simply, and we should create our heaven on earth. Create your heaven on earth, whatever that is for you. Have us, as long as it doesn't hurt other people or the planet, and enjoy your life. So, boy, the garden has gone crazy. I'm going to try and shoot. I know people from Patreon and also some of the members, y'all want to see the garden. I don't know if other people want to see it, but and then I bought a sprout machine. So I'm also growing my own sprouts. So I don't have to pay for sprouts anymore. So I can sprout Mila's grass. I can do my own sprouts. I've got my greens that I can grow. I'm probably going to get an in-house green thing too. So I have microgreens all year round. It's the idea of being as independent as possible. You can buy like a quarter acre for very little money. And now they're selling these eco-friendly townhomes that are got everything in them. And they're totally, and I think that they're set up to do solar and everything. And they're like 110,000, 120,000. So you get a nice piece of land somewhere, 20K, good to go. Maybe get some other people to put their tiny houses on it. So you get what's called a group of people. A lot of people are doing that in Portland, Oregon, or in Oregon, where you have 20 people. They each put a couple $1,000s in, and then they buy a few acres. And then they build each other's homes. And I just think that's so righteous. Like, if people help each other and you create a community, it doesn't have to be so difficult. It's isolation that's difficult, but when we help each other, life is a lot easier, don't you think? Anyway, so let's get started. I think there's enough people here for us to start with our hot topics. They're not micro homes. Some of them are 1,000 square feet. They're cabins. They're eco-friendly cabins. They can be, it's up to you how large you want it to be. They had 3 bedrooms, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms. Not a tiny house. 40 acres is great. You know, what I wanted to do, like if I buy land, is to turn it into the Garden of Eden. You know, start bringing in rare plants, attracting as many birds, safe haven as possible for bird species. Mila would love it because she can be inside her little cat dome and watch. She's too old to catch them now anyway. But yeah, it would be great, you know, build your own lake. There are people that are now building your own lake. And then you can also grow trout and bass in your own lake, so that you're also supplying yourself. People rescue chickens, they get eggs. They have their own bass and their own fish from their own lake. I just think it's really cool. Like, imagine the complete independence you would have. You have your own rainwater, you have your own fish, you have your own vegetables, you have your own animals for dairy. If you eat dairy, I mean, the only thing you would probably have to import, what I see people off grid cannot get, is bread. Like, I've seen some of the food they eat and it's great. You know, it's potatoes and eggs. That's cool. But it's like, there's just no replacement for, I just made some homemade bread, and a lot of people just don't grow grains. So that's the one thing you do have to purchase is grain. Probably not going to be growing it on your farm. Yeah. Well, I wanted to give a special gratitude shout out to all you for coming and deciding to hang out with us here on Thursday. Like I said, I'm the hostess with the mostest, Whimsy. Feel free to ask any questions you like about stuff that's been going on in the news. If you could share, like, subscribe. Some subscriptions have been down. So they say I got to ask, like, would you subscribe? Think about the children. I don't know. I got some reason to motivate people to subscribe. Anyway, so excuse me. We're up to 240 members. So special also gratitude to all of you who have decided to become members of the channel. I'm having a cup of coffee. I'm having the Cafe d'Art Verona, courtesy of Karen Sanford. Thank you, Karen Sanford, for the writer. She was kind enough to send me one of my favorite coffees, the Cafe d'Art. So I'm enjoying it. I also have some Cafe d'Art from 1111, but they're two different flavors, so I thought I would take a break from the 5 pounder, the 5 pounder that I got from 1111 and try this one. It's very, very good. And I'm having some water. For lunch, I, excuse me, I made myself a homemade vegan pea soup. It's beautiful. I whipped it. And then you add a small potato to make it thick. Anderson's pea soup, which is also vegan. I found their recipe somewhere and I made it similar. I have my own fresh dill growing, so I cut some of my dill and I put that also in my pea soup. I made a homemade whole wheat loaf and I braided it and then put it in the loaf pan because I thought it would be pretty. It turned out delicious. So that was my dinner, and I guess it's an early dinner. Yeah, late lunch, early dinner. So that was what I had. Hopefully, you all had something healthy and nutritious as well. Probably have some greens later as well. Try to have most of my meals be plant-based. I do dairy. I had a cheese sandwich with that, I should mention. On my bread, I had a cheese sandwich. Okay. So, yeah, I'm getting really into homesteading. Now they're talking about the urban homesteader, so you can grow a lot of vegetables on your balcony. And I'm probably going to get a grinder to grind and mill my own grain because it's going to be much tastier if you buy like your whole grains and then grind it yourself. I'll probably get that as well. And like growing my own sprouts. And I'll probably get to a point where I'll eventually start looking at canning. Hi, Rose Blue. Welcome to Fairies and Angels. Thank you for your support. Yeah, let's talk about the remote views. So I think everybody's here. We can go ahead and get started, chatting aside. Let's have a conversation about a couple of the remote views. So the first thing is I want to talk a little bit about Ukraine because we had said on, was it Sunday, that there was a lot of violence. We got the Knight of Swords that I saw. It was going to intensify. We had the Knight of Swords and death. We also had Vladimir Putin saying that he wanted to be very specific, and he said that he wanted to take east of the Dnipro River. Do you all remember that? Why didn't he warn us? Well, he's should probably find that. You know the picture, right? I showed you guys the picture. We took a photograph. Remember the photograph that was taken from May? Was it May 19th? May 19th. Thank you. May 19th is in the comment section, dated Putin take east of the Dnipro River, right? So the reason he did that was because he said it was militarily strategic. So they are running out of weapons. They don't have any way to fight Ukraine. They're bankrupted. They flooded the western side. He wants to take control of the eastern side. So the main thing that we're witnessing right now, which I've talked about, is the fact that Russia is collapsing. Russia is collapsing. Many countries are collapsing under privatization, and that is the takeaway. When you go into the meditative state and you put yourself into that altered state and you observe your emotional state in relationship to the world from a place of distance, which is what we teach HCRV practitioners, what you see is that the whole entire world is going belly up because of privatization. Privatization happened, for example, in the Soviet Union when it collapsed. all these private people with companies, they started bleeding the coffers of Russia, and Russia went bankrupt to the czars. The czars got wealthy, the people became broke. So the takeaway when you look at this as a remote viewer is that we have to be able to see the writing on the wall and stop this before it's too late for us, before what happened in Russia happens in Great Britain, before it happens in France and Germany. The steady slope into what we're seeing in Russia is privatization. It was money that came from the taxpayers and went into the hands of business people who became oligarchs. They became so powerful that they created the laws at the expense of everybody else. But specifically, the money went to the oligarch uh, Prigozhin and his private army. So money was taken away from the army and it was given to Prigozhin. He became rich. And as a result, the Russian military was weakened to the point where it couldn't compete against NATO. So what we're starting to see in the United States and what we're the victims of in the United States, and I don't use that word lightly, is a reaction to social reform after the Depression. You know, you had the Depression, you had Theodore Dreiser, you had all these great writers talking about the need for social reform and social justice. You had the churches talking about social reform and social justice, and it was associated with being like Jesus to support social reform and social justice. And quite a bit of institutions, great institutions were built in the United States from the time of the Great Depression on into, say, post-World War II. And then came deconstruction. And that really escalates. They really escalates during the time of Carter when they try to cut free education, etc. And then Reagan takes over. And with that became this glorification of capitalism, that you are not a real Christian if you are not a capitalist. You are not a good American if you don't love money. It became this type of propaganda. It became a propaganda war that really didn't make much sense, but it was a new form of patriotism that if you look at the writings of, say, John Steinbeck, there simply was no prior a type of American patriotism that looked like this prior to uh, Reagan, and this glorifying of that America is capitalism, that it's enshrined in our Constitution to be capitalist. Very bizarre. So the takeaway from the remote is that the social reform, the destruction of the social reform is what destroyed the Soviet Union. It was an idea that started off as, in many ways, as a great idea. They did offer free education, vaccines, etc., to play remote areas, like kids that didn't get enough food to eat in remote areas, etc. But then it slowly begins to collapse due to corruption and people saying, well, you're paying too much taxes under socialism, so we're going to save you money through privatization. And then everything that follows suit after that. With Reagan, we saw unfettered greed. It's not American, and neither is it patriotic or Christian, to dismantle the very institutions that allow a civilized society to function. Oh, this was I was channeling somebody, and I don't know who it was. It was some great orator. I don't talk like this. Can I read that again? Because it just sounded so great. Unfettered greed is not American, and neither is it patriotic or Christian, to dismantle the very institutions that allow a civilized society to function. Homelessness rises due to privatization and the slashing of they slashed funding to mental health institutions. Yeah. So basically, the takeaway, what it looks like to me as a remote viewer, is that we are all sliding down the same toilet bowl if we don't snap out of the delusion, see what's happening, and begin to try and shake everybody else awake from the gaslighting and see very clearly that all of this is privatization. Your taxes have not gone down with privatization. Your taxes have gone up. The only thing that's happened is that we have lost the protections we had with strong institutions that existed during the time of Carter. Yeah. Any comments about that? I think it was Jimmy Carter, probably, because that was the meditation. So I think that part of, and he's a great writer, so I think part of that consciousness may have slipped in as I was going through it. I did a remote view also about Bill Barr because I want to talk about obstruction of justice and the lawyers because this is something that came up when we did a remote. Here is what I said, because I want to be clear here. What I said when I first shot a video, before it was totally private, we used to be unlisted, was I did a trance and I did the whole thing with Michael Cohen. You better make some phone calls, blah, blah, blah. Made a deal with Ivanka Trump. Everybody told me I was crazy. Then I said they intercepted the phone call. They just destroyed the documents. Then they went in and raided Michael Cohen's offices, blah, blah, blah. All of that turned out to be true. Then he sent everything to SDNY. That turned out to be true. Then what we said was that following that trajectory, Trump would be given the honor of resigning. He would basically get off at that. This was before all the other horrible stuff happened. They were basically looking at giving him a resignation so that he wouldn't be given Article 26. And so it looked to me as a remote viewer like he was terrified of Article 26. Now, it came out afterwards that people were talking about Article 26. And so when he was in the hospital and they were asking him questions like, who's the president of the United States? And he was recovering from COVID, they were trying to determine, you guessed it, if he could function as the president and if he had COVID brain. Article 25, what did I say? Please feel free to correct me because I don't have a producer in my ear and I don't know what's coming out of my mouth. Yeah, Article 25. So that was also why he leaves the hospital early. But the point is this, the point is that there was so much there that this problem should have been dealt with 2 years into this guy's presidency. They were ready to pull this guy out, maximum 2 years. So why wasn't he pulled out? Because it ended up all being true, right? Cohen did go to SDNY. He did speak with SDNY 40 times. He did sit down with them. Then we did another trance. Why is he meeting with them? Because he's prepping for the grand jury. That turned out to be true. He was very easy to work with. It was not hard to get in with Michael Cohen. He was very transparent for me personally. It might be more difficult for somebody else. The point is this, why didn't it happen? What was the block that, if all of this information was available to us 4 years ago, what the hell went wrong? What went wrong is Bill Barr. Bill Barr engaged in obstruction of justice. He weaponized the Justice Department, which is precisely what Cohen is accusing him of. And then the question becomes, can Bill Barr be prosecuted? Yes. Yes. It's a real possibility. When you go into this energy and the monster that is Donald Trump, and you know what we know, we can assume that a lot of it's true because what has been made public confirms the remotes, right? Because it's all public now, right? I mean, the grand jury has already met. And Trump's already been charged, right? So it all turned out to be true. So I might be crazy. I am very crazy. Don't believe anything, right? But I'm also psychic, right? So it was just interesting to go into the energy and see what we had said, and then it didn't happen, and people, I don't believe in psychics anymore, and we're scratching our heads like, damn, I must have just had one too many edibles or something, I don't know. And then it all turns out to be true, but 4 years later. And that makes me angry, because the only explanation, and certainly when you go into the remotes, is that Bill Barr obstructed justice, and that's criminal. People want to talk about it? Pretty frustrating. Well, go back. My suggestion for people is to go back and look at the remotes from 4 years ago and look at what eventually happened. And then we have to ask ourselves, what was the impediment? And it's very obvious what the impediment was. I mean, okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and do the empath's prayer. We're going to go ahead and blitz, blitz, blitz away. I do want to see if there's going to be prosecution for Bill Barr, because his energy he's been trashing Trump on TV. I guess this is his Maya Culpa tour, but it's a little too late, right? Oh, thank God, Astoria. There, you guys, the smoke is clearing. Good. Yeah, Barr was Trump's lawyer. It was part of the executive branch of government, and it was run like a branch of the executive. All right, let's do it. All right, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, we say, Amen. All right, I just want to check and see, because Bill Barr's energy was so strong last night, if there's any possibility he'll lose his license or there'll be any consequences for what he did. What's happening with Trump, this arrest that's going to be happening, it doesn't happen tonight, within the next couple of days, should have happened years ago. For what he did stealing the 2016 election, don't you think? You know, this is just so offensive to me. I looking at these records, because these records are implying that he is cooperating with the investigation, but there's no intent to charge. And that really bothers me. He was shown mercy, given opportunity to cooperate with the investigation. So he's definitely testified on January 6th. He testified on a few other cases. He's been shown grace, new beginnings for him, his hopes and fears, the end of his career, his legacy. There is evidence that's being constructed against him. You know what's also weird is that there's evidence that he suppressed, there's evidence emerging that Bill Barr suppressed data and withheld data that was necessary to the investigation. And that seems pretty weird to me. So it's just announced that Trump's been indicted. I'm glad that I knew I was going to have trouble getting on. Is everybody okay? I was worried that it was going to break before. Well, he can't flee. Remember, I went into his documents last night. By the way, I usually don't do my remotes naked, but I felt like I had to. Do you want to see an old Jewish lady's naked? Will it pay off my student loans? Oh, can I do the I Got It Right song? What did I say last night? Why are you guys laughing? You guys laugh at me. You're right, though. I did not see the Dnieper River, the dam. But we did hear Putin say, I'm taking the east of the Dnieper. Oh, I guess that's one way to do it. You always have to read through the lines with Putin. Yeah. And then 3 days later, he flooded the western side. So no, we didn't see it. Oh, well, maybe if I could find, I don't know where Skyclad, yes. I don't know where Flopsy is because I'm live. People wanted me to do the song, but find Flopsy? There's Flopsy. Mila, I'm going to get Flopsy. Remote viewing works. Don't tell them. Heart-centered remote viewing is real. I got it right. 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 I got it right now. Self-glorification, but only for 30 seconds. Thank you. Thank you very much. How's everybody doing? I felt terrible as Trump. No, I didn't feel good because when I was Trump, I genuinely don't know where the hell the documents are. Because Clarence is insane. Because he blames us for what happened to him. The whole thing where he had to go for being humiliated in front of the Senate. He says he's never going to forget. He's going to make the left pay. That's not why you're on the Supreme Court, Clarence. You're not on the Supreme Court to exact vengeance because you're upset about how you were treated during your confirmation hearing. You're supposed to go protect the Constitution. It's like he thinks his job is to terrorize the left, and that's just not, I think I think Clarence Thomas is confused about what his job is. Oh, good. I'm glad it's not breaking because you can be sure that Rachel Maddow is in a car right now speeding towards the studios. Saying, I love you, Susan. All of our dreams have been fulfilled. We're going to have to leave the cabin. It won't be 3 days of catching trout by the cabin, girl. I got to go hit the newsroom. So that's cool. At 6 o'clock, we'll all be able to see Rachel and everybody. That'll be fun. Actually, she'll probably be there sooner. Do you guys want me to try and locate her? Oh, Rachel Maddow said that it wasn't that they all had their phones. They were all on alert. They were all on an alert at MSNBC, including hers, because they were pretty sure that it was going to break. And so she said it wasn't quite like they were out of the blue. So I think she's already at the studio. Rachel Maddow. You're welcome. Well, this is fun. Will Bill Barr be indicted? According to the cards, no. According to the cards, they've been very gracious with him. But this goes also back to the remotes where there was pressure on the AG. Why isn't this going faster? Why isn't this he can't flee, Lisa, because remember last night he was informed by the feds that he did not have the right to leave the country. And I documented that last night. I also documented last night that he was likely to break today, which is why I had to stay up till 2:30 in the morning for you people. The things we do for love, the things we do for love, the things we do for love. Let's see how Trump is doing with the news. Let's see how Trump is doing. Buttered popcorn and Coca-Cola tonight. You know what my naughty is? Haagen-Dazs Swiss vanilla with those chocolate covered almonds. You're watching MSNBC. I think Rachel's in makeup, so she'll probably be on in about 20 minutes. Bill Barr. No, they freaking can't get him. All he can do is cooperate. The problem I'm having with the Bill Barr is that there's evidence that he actually withheld vital information to people that were engaged in the investigation. He is facing possible prosecution and financial. No, they're not handcuffed. I was in the room last night. There were feds there that had showed up, members of the feds, 2 members of the feds. There were his lawyers. It was very solemn. He was sitting solemnly. I had a brief image of Eric. He doesn't have much of a relationship with his wife, but at one point, I think he did ask her to come sit with them for a little bit prior to it being announced. So I think she did come and sit with them for a little bit. Yeah, I think I gave you guys the remote last night, didn't I? Didn't I give you guys the remote? It was 2 minutes long. I am an innocent man was Trump's quote just now. Trump's in shock. I felt as Trump, I felt like I said, it was hard to get in. I felt very humbled, and I wanted to just sit with my wife for just a minute. Before everything changes. That was what happened. Ivanka's gone. Remember, she had the feds over her prior to him even leaving office. She had done a deal with the feds. We already had a remote on that. Oh, Geo Cosmic Valentine blew the dust off the popcorn. So you was waiting a long time for that popcorn. So let's see how it goes with the Jack Smith indictment. I knew I had to record because it was one of the, you know what happened to me last night? I was trying to fall asleep and I was doing the remote and I did a long abiding step 3 for those of you who are students. I did a long step 3 and I was like checking in. We check in on ourselves. It's child pose for remote viewers is called the abiding. So those people who are not remote viewers, we do a child pose, a pause in our work, and it's called the abiding. It's just a neutral state, right? So I was in that kind of neutral state, and I was just checking my body, and I was thinking, God, I feel kind of tired. We check our energy levels and stuff to see if we can go in and because we might, if we're tired, we're not supposed to do the work if we're too exhausted. So I was doing like step 3, and then all that. Then the next thing I know, I wound up at Mar-a-Lago in the middle of this whole thing, and then I was like, well, I guess. And that was like, then I tried to break my own rule. I said, you know what? I'll go to sleep and I'll try and remember tomorrow. And then I couldn't fall asleep. No, Whimsy, you have to record now. First off, as a remote viewer, you have to record as soon as you get it. And secondly, it's going to break tomorrow, and you're never going to forgive yourself if you don't document. Okay. So I documented. All right, Jack Smith. Yes, more raids are coming. More raids in the next couple of weeks for Trump properties. There's substantial evidence. It's it's not up for debate. It's irrefutable evidence. It's kind of a slam dunk case. Ace of Pentacles evidence. This is Jack Smith. Inverted Queen of Wands, which is Trump. Inverted Queen of Wands. My way, boom, boom, my way. Hopes and fears, the partnership's final outcome, 4 of Pentacles under the microscope. The final outcome for Trump, a judgment. He has a mountain of evidence. He has to leave Mar-a-Lago because the investors want him out. They've been trying to get him out for a while. That's not public information, I don't think. Judgment against him, evidence against him. He has to leave. He can't stay at that location. He's going to I think he should move in with Eric because they're ripping through all that stuff. Star Witness, that his partnerships are going to be examined. Biden gets reelected. Biden will be reelected. Trump has been charged with 7 charges. Are you talking about the New York one or this? Oh, this recent indictment is 7 counts. But this is only the first of a series of indictments. Jack Smith has more indictments coming. June 12th actually is the start date for the counteroffensive. This is like the soft counteroffensive you guys are seeing, but today I did a remote and the date I got for the main counteroffensive is June 12th. And they don't need to cross the Dnieper River from that location. They can cross further up near Zaporizhia. So on the 12th, that's when the main counteroffensive starts, which would put us in. Let me go ahead and check the date on that for people. You guys can put it in the pen. I like to give you guys exact dates when I can. That would be Monday. So the main counteroffensive is probably going to be starting this weekend and escalating by Monday the 12th. And somebody had a question about another date. What date was it? Oh, hi, Geocosmic Valentine. Hi. I was curious if other remote viewers were picking up last night the energy that kept me up. Well, if you guys were also going through similar stuff. Oh, Miami Federal Court is also going after him? Probably. Well, it's like I put up the one last night and there were these Trump supporters. She's crazy. Her politics is like, I'm not saying it's right or wrong that it's indicted. I'm just giving you the information. So he still has supporters out there. He has to report to DC for the indictment. Yeah, I got the impression that they were going to go to him because they were waiting at Mar-a-Lago. You were jazzed to sleep? That's such a good idea. That's so funny you said that, aggravated progressive, because I was thinking of putting on some jazz music because my insomnia was so bad. We did sing. I got it right. I got it right. I got it right now. Ooh, ooh. I got it right. I got it right. I got it right now. Do a falsetto. I'm so cool. I like falsetto. Okay. The trajectory will be towards winning. You know, we will be on the. So I think you have this intense activity happening around the 12th, and then definitely we start to see the momentum on the side of Ukraine after. What date did you give me? You said 17th, 18th? Oh, 15th, 16th. Yeah, that makes sense. Highly explosive. You can see a new beginning. Slava Ukraine. There we go. Look at this. Victory in the battle. So it's good for the Ukrainians. It's an existential crisis for them. They have no choice. They have to win. They can't lose. They're going to be attacked again, and they're going to have to put up protection for flooding. They're going to attempt to flood other areas. I will give you a heads up on that because when I went into the remote, I saw them carrying sandbags. When I looked at the picture, it pulled me into them fortifying the banks with sand. So there's another flood coming. It goes back to the remote of what Putin had said a couple days ago. He wants to keep the eastern side of the Dnieper. Now I'm more clear about what he meant by that. I'm so glad I wrote it down on May 19th. It's in the community pages if you want to see a picture of the map, the Dnieper, and Putin, and him saying, "I'm taking this side," and that was 3 days before the flood, or 3-4 days before the flood. 20,000 for a parcel. Try 100,000 plus for a lot. No water, electric, fuel, or paved road access. Welcome to Utah. Well, leave Utah. I mean, there's plenty of places to get. We have to spread out to all 50 states. There's no such thing as blue and red anymore. We're just people trying to make a go of things. You know, to be everybody's friend until proven otherwise. How much time does Putin have on Earth? Oh, that's one of those questions I'm forbidden to answer, even if I had such capabilities, which I do not. I didn't buy into the whole thing that he was ready to drop dead. I think the guy with the big round face turned out to be one of his stand-ins. The grand jury was in Florida, or there is a grand jury in Florida. Rachel is on the phone. Oh. Is she on her way there? Is she in the car, or is she just, I can't imagine. She wouldn't be in the studio. You can get plenty of land in plenty parts of the world, abandoned land, if you're willing to. And you can also ship these green houses that they're making in Oregon. They recycle all your trash and everything, and they're really cheap, $110,000 for a green. I looked at the 2-bedroom, which was think they had them as small as 750 and as large as 1,200 square feet. And they just drop it onto the property. It's solar, and then you can hook your water up to it. So you would be like completely independent and spend, 5, 10,000 on a semi-decent piece of property. I think these people that are going in on property, what's good about that also is, say you start with just 1/4 of an acre, and then you can expand out, maybe buy up more and more property until eventually the commune has more and more land. That's kind of what the Mennonites have been doing, and it's working really well for them. She's on readout. Trump has been indicted by the Department of Justice. Yeah. So if you go back, Mary, hi, Mary. Good to see you, by the way. Good to see you, Mary. If you go back to the remote, the judges went his people went first to appeal to the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice said it wasn't up to me. The call is, we've left the discretion to Jack Smith. And so that was why they appealed to Jack Smith. A septic tank or one of those recycling outhouses might not be so bad. A green outhouse, that's not so terrible if it's got like wood chips and stuff. Like some of them use wood chip, and you go to the bathroom and you dump some wood chips, and then you just move the outhouse, and then you have compost. But you can throw other things in your outhouse too, like all your vegetables, all your. But sometimes funny things can happen, like things will go and live in the outhouse, and that can be a little weird. Who moved the boxes? Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. As Trump, I really don't know where some stuff is. That's why they have to go back in. They have to go back and they have to comb all of his properties until they find all this crap that's missing. Yes, the documents is the first indictment, but there's others. There's others coming. Let's. Okay, what am I looking at here? Holly W. Hi, Holly. Who moved the boxes? Who moved the boxes? Who knows? It might have been some office cleaner who decided to steal them and go and try and sell them somewhere or something. He sold the originals. Oh, yeah, they made copies and put copies there. And what did they think? That the feds wouldn't know the difference? Oh my God, that's funny. This almost looks like that female Chinese spy came back in and unlocked it and ran off with it. Oh, Nicole Wallace is on the phone now. Well, where is Rachel? Is she on her way? She's probably on her way to the studios, because they all had a heads up it was going to happen soon. Who moved the boxes? It's interesting. There's this kind of dreamy delusion around this. A woman with ill intent, Queen of Wands, fire lady. And look at this, somebody who will be, it was a woman. Look at that. She's facing incarceration though. Oh, espionage. Yes. Oh, it's on. Well, I think I'll probably close out, you guys, since I think it's probably, you're going to get real information from Midas Touch. You're not going to get it from me. I just wanted to be here. The fact that I could get on, I was thrilled. Oh, Rachel is on. Yeah, I thought she would be there pretty soon. I figured she would be there before 5. You want, but I don't know if there's much I can. I think I told you guys everything, and now we're all caught up with everything. I can't think of any remotes that haven't happened yet. The boats all got taken away, and the people all got taken away, and now the president's getting taken away. I guess the next, uh, yeah, the next charges will probably be congressional, I would think, right? Mark Meadows cut a deal. Remember, we had said that Mark Meadows had cut a deal. Who else do you think cut a deal? Anybody else you haven't heard from in a while? Wonder what happened to them? Ever heard of a guy named Roger Stone? Meadows flipped, yeah. I think we reported him flipping like 3-4 months ago. What did Roger Stone say? Bannon is a double agent. He'll get off. He's partly working for the feds to avoid incarceration. So he's going to be able to walk in, tell them everything, tell his fans that he had no choice, and then slither out of there probably. I'd be very surprised if they ever arrested Bannon because of the crap that he's given so much information to the feds. He used to be with the Pentagon. Roger Stone said he wants a musical to be made about him and that he was born for the stage. And, it's like that Kate Bush song about being born for the stage. He wants to be in a, he wants to direct a Bob Fosse musical about his life. And I think somebody should do it. I think somebody should give Roger Stone what he wants. Give him his Broadway musical. Call it The Showman. Call it whatever you like. The Showman, I think, is a great idea. Have him with his hat. Have him with his canary coat. He'll love it. That's what he wants. If he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, it's going to be writing Broadway musicals. Yes, I can look. But so is Rachel in the studio now? Oh my God. Fundraiser. Oh my gosh. Oh, she's not there yet. Oh, she'll probably be there. Okay, Roger Stone's future. He's considered insane. Was he like ignored a lot as a child or something? Like, well, he's no fan of Robert Mueller. That's what he's saying. Roger Stone was no fan of Robert Mueller. So Robert Mueller must have had a lot of dirt that got passed over on Stone, a lot of information. He's kind of losing his mind. Again, these people look like they have Alzheimer's or mental illness. In the clouds, his time is running out. Wheel of Fortune. The other, he's having issues with a strong man. That's the Mueller. That's the DA's card. Like strong against him. His opposition is strong. The hopes and fears. Safety in the grave. I think that he's going to be removed. I don't know about incarceration, but the feds are their king of swords and being pulled out 8 of cups. It goes back to Roger Stone saying that he had contraband, that he had information that was on the president. So did Giuliani. They all had contraband on each other. They'd all filmed each other doing various different things. And that was what Roger Stone considered to be a gentleman's agreement. You can pop your champagne rose blue, but I told you last night. Just kidding. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to go watch the news. Yeah, Roger. I think they should do a musical called The Showman. Have him in his yellow penguin suit, and all that jazz. Cha cha cha. I was born for the stage, theater. It's all me. I created Donald Trump. I created the whole thing. I'm the showman, and I made him a showman. I directed it. I even selected the music. YMCA. It was all me, the whole thing, the whole shebang. It was all Roger. I made him a star. Yeah. That's what it is to be Roger Stone for me as a remote viewer. Excited to brag about what he had achieved. He dresses up his candidate, puts them in a nice suit, gives them their direction, tells them how to perform, puts on the music, the stage. We're revving it up, and it's another Roger Stone production. Yeah. All right, blessings to you all. If you need to see me for a reading, you can find the information below. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, we would love it if you would. It really helps the channel out a lot. Have fun. Make sure to party. A movie for Bannon? I don't think so. I don't know. Bannon, I think he's a federal informant. That's the only way that guy stayed out of prison. All right, love you guys. Talk later. Bye-bye. The Ukrainian offensive will escalate. The official one is on the 12th. I have permission to say it's on the 12th. All right, bye, everybody.